What's up, everybody? I'm Mike. Put this down first. Put this down first, real quick.
You just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph, and we are here for another fan-flippin-tastic Top 10.
I'm excited. It's been a little bit.
It's been a bit.
It's been a little bit. You know, we do Top 10 BGG, so that's kind of been, we've just been very busy. But we're like, man, we'll do a Top 10.
I know.
And so we're like, let's do one.
It's been so long since I've listed something.
It's so long since I've done a list, just a good list.
Yeah, so Top 10s are fun to make, man. It's fun to reflect once in a while on, like, what games.
It's nice to know where
Get
you
you
stand
going.
on stuff,
I know.
you know?
Officially. Put it down.
Fish,
Put
stamp it.
Put it on paper.
Yeah.
Throw it down on writing on a lower third, why don't you? So what we have for you today is kind of a remix, an expansion upon a top 10 we did before. We did top 10 games to play at 2 players.
That was the last list we did, yeah.
That was not 2-player games. It's just games that we prefer at the 2-player count. So on the smaller side of things. And people rightly said, well, hey, why don't you just do top 10 2-player games that are designed for 2 people.
That's it. Because like a lot of you probably play with your spouse, or you play with like a sister or a brother, or just like you have that one friend who plays games. Mike and I mostly play games with each other. And so like a lot of people out there, one thing I hear so often in like forums on BGG or in comments or whatever, people say like, if it doesn't play good at 2, I won't get it. And we're very much 100%. The same. Like there are a lot of games where it's like, unless it's a very special thing, if it does not play well at 2, there's literally no point in us having it.
No.
Because we can't stream it.
Played.
Yeah, we can't stream it. We can't do anything with it. It's like, it's just not that useful for us. And I think like a lot of people are the same way. Put it down in the comments if you agree, because that's...
Throw them down. Also, while you're getting ready for this top 10, go ahead and throw a thumb up on this video, just in case you get busy later, house catches fire. We still want the thumb.
We get it, man. We're on fire all the time in LA.
You know what I mean? So first thing I do when I click open a video, thumb it up.
Yeah.
Always eat your dessert first, because you never know.
You might die halfway through dinner,
before the desserts come. So without further ado, we're going to get into our top 10 most favorite 2-player games. These are games that are 2-player only. For the most part, there's like one little asterisk. Don't worry about that. It's fine. I think we should get into it right now. Before we get started, can I throw out an honorable mention?
Yes, you can.
Okay. An honorable mention is going to be Unmatched. Now, the reason I throw out Unmatched is because Unmatched can play 3 players and can play in teams, which is cool.
Yes.
But like, I think that it was designed as a heads-up 2-player experience.
And there's a lot of people
mostly.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who've played it 4-player, and they say it's really fun. I actually haven't tried it 4-player yet. But I just don't think I'd ever want to play it other than 2-player.
Yeah.
But it is a 2 to 4-player game, and that's legit truth. People do. It's not like let's say Santorini is not on our list. And Santorini is not just a 2-player game technically, but I'm like, no, that's a 2-player game. Unmatched is kind of in that gray area. But we'll probably always play it 2-player.
Just want to have an honorable mention once in a while. So Unmatched. The point is, go play it. It's great.
I'll go back to this.
Every game deserves another turn.
Alrighty, our number 10 is a little small. The good thing about 2-player games is some of them are very small, some of them are very large. I want to say right now, we haven't played Star Wars Rebellion. It's not on the list. Sorry, shame us in comments. But nonetheless, because that's a very big 2-player game. Shame.
But there are big 2-player.
Also, War of the Rings not on this list because we don't play it quite often enough, but that's also a very big 2-player game. Yeah. But this one is quite small, and it is Hero Realms or Star Realms, but we prefer Hero Realms.
Yes, we do.
I like fantasy more than sci-fi. That's mostly the reason.
The only difference, because they at their core are very similar. They're tiny little deck builders, and they're just heads up, smash them up, try to beat each other up, or even with some campaign things, you can go co-op now.
You can.
But they're a tiny little deck building game. That the thing I think we probably both really like the most about is that it jumps you right into being badass.
Right in the middle. Yep.
Yes, it's like cards. And you can buy a card for like 2 coins. That just like starts walloping up for like 5 damage.
Yeah.
And you start with like 50 odd health, and depending on who you're playing as, and you're just trying to kill the other person.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like I said, it's like Mike said, it's like most deck builders, you start off in the ass phase.
Yeah.
You know, you got basic hands, everyone has basic hands, and you're just building up, and eventually you get dope. And that's great, and I love those kinds of games.
Absolutely.
But this one, it's a short game, 20 minutes tops,
Yeah.
And it's like you jump right into the dope phase.
No messing around.
And like right off the bat, you can buy cards that are just super beefy and broken. And it's super fun. And then on top of that, they came out with character packs. Yes. So there's like a cleric, and a warrior, and a wizard. And they're mostly flavored, but basically everyone now has their own starter deck. So you start off with slight differences, and it makes it even better.
A little thing you can do, slightly different stats, and it's for that size game. It's all of the variability I need. That's it.
Yes.
Just a little
It's a
something.
great little game. Star Realms as well. It's a great app as well. But
I do play Star Realms on the app.
yeah,
on Steam.
Hero Realms, it's outstanding. Give it a shot. It's small, cheap. It's wonderful. It's a great little 2-player game,
Good
and we love it.
for our number 10 anyway.
Number 10, that's right.
All right, let's get to number 9.
Do it.
So our number 9 is the first spoiler Bruno Catala game on this list. There will be
There's
more.
many.
It is new
Is this
as
the
of
newest?
this year. I think it's the newest.
It is the newest by
It
far,
is
yeah.
Nagaraja.
Nagaraja.
In this game, you are kind of two competing
archaeologists.
archaeologists. Yeah, Indiana Jones types.
You're
You're going
exploring
into
a
temples and
temple,
you're trying to find treasure and things like that. And the cool thing about it is there's kind of these tiles that you're flipping over to make pathways to get to the ends, which hopefully have treasures and not
to get
pitfalls
to
and bad
the edge
things.
of your board, yeah.
Correct. And so there's cards you can play out and stuff that will move things around, shift things, twist to make your paths work your way. You can kind of mess with other players that way and mess up their tempo because you're kind of sort of a racing game.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to these Naga.
They're sticks.
They're
Yeah, the little
dice
sticks.
stick
Yeah,
things? Yeah.
they're like essentially they're four-sided
Like
dice.
fate sticks,
Essentially, yeah.
Right. Little D4s in their way, and you can roll these out to kind of help you out in the game. And it's just it's just cool that they made
It's a
like sort of
cool. Yeah, and you have like multi-use cards
Yeah.
and stuff, and the top half of the card will be like how many of those sticks that you're rolling out. The bottom half will be actions you can
Yeah,
do.
so
And
what's-
essentially, you're trying to make paths to the edge of your board, because on the edge of your board are face-down tiles, and those tiles will have a certain amount of points on them. And there are essentially the first person to 25 points is who wins. The second you get to 25 points, boom, you just won. But there are 3 like cursed relics, I think that's what they're called, on the outside of your board as well, and those are worth 6 points, and it's great. The problem is if you uncover all 3 of those, you immediately lose.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of
So
like,
they're
I kinda
worth more than
wanna
any
put
of the
danger.
other treasure,
Yeah.
but there's a bit of push your luck, because if you have 2 revealed, you have to be you may reveal the third one and instantly lose, and so it's very fun and just kind of like back and forth, and it's a really great 2-player game.
Yeah, those multi-use cards are the coolest thing because there might be the top half to get those sticks. You need those to be able to do stuff, but you might have to get rid of a card that you really
Yeah.
like the power on the bottom. And I like the fact that you might discover a cursed relic, but you might play things that shift your tiles around, so all of a sudden the path does not any longer lead to the edge of that, and it flips back down.
Yeah.
So if you have 2 out, you're like, I'm going to shift this around, flip one back down, flip this up, and
Yeah.
hopefully not be quite so in danger.
Yeah.
So Nagaraj is just a cool, pretty game. It's Bruno Catala and Vincent Dutrait teaming
Classic.
up.
Won't be the first time that team is on here.
Yeah, the Brew Traits, man.
Brew Traits, man.
But
Brew
yeah, I mean,
Traits,
that is
dude.
Nagaraja. Give it a try if you haven't.
it's
I
good.
think it's pretty.
It's very fun,
just
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, definitely give it a go. That's Nagaraja.
Nagaraja number 9.
A 9.
Let's do number 8.
Yep.
Number 8, how number 8 is a 2-player game. Like, obviously, it is. Targi is what it is. Targi is I don't even know what the theme necessarily is.
Sand.
Desert. Yeah. But essentially, there
The life
is.
of Targi and Targia. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. It's a 2-player worker placement game, which it's worker placement in a kind of weird way. There's essentially these cards around the main board.
Ultimately, like a grid with like a
Yeah, a
border
grid of cards in the
yeah.
middle, and they have a grid of, and they have cards around it, and then you are placing your Targi. You'll have 3 of them, and you'll place them on the cards on the outside, and then they will. So if you put one here and put one here, they will intersect here. And so that essentially is the card that you're going to be claiming. And so you place those 3 things, and you'll be claiming 2 cards in the middle.
Yeah.
And you're trying to
activating the cards on the outside. They have little
and you're essentially getting resources. You're doing some set collecting, and essentially, and there's like different rules where there's like a robber on the outside, and you can't be directly across from the robber.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of ways of like blocking each other out in kind of these weird, subtle
Tactical.
ways. Yeah, and it's very, very tough to get the things you want and deny the other person what they want. And it's very, very fun. It was out of print for a long time. Cosmos just brought it back, and it's always been. I mean, it's not a new game by any stretch of imagination. It's always been heralded as one of the best
on our list for so
worker
long.
placement 2-player games, and it was gone for a long time. We finally got it, and it's really outstanding.
Yeah, just the idea of a 2-player worker placement game. We're like, we like 2-player games. We love worker placement games. So it was immediately like, what is this going to be? And then it has, and that system of the kind of grid point.
It's kind of like in Forbidden Desert when you uncover
Yes.
one thing and then wherever they meet, that's where the thing is.
Exactly
It's
right.
like that.
Yeah, so it's just fun to play with the puzzly nature of it. I mean, Target's really cool, and it's just ultimately cards, so it's packs up pretty small
Yeah.
into like a little box. Definitely cool, and ultimately kind of simple. Like you're right, it's like mostly it's kind of ultimately a set collection game.
Yeah.
You're building out like you're getting 12 ultimately cards, and you're hoping to put together kind of different sets and things
Yeah.
like that, and opportunities for
Depending on
scoring.
what cards you end up getting, because different
Yeah.
ones will be like, oh, for however many of these cards you get, oh, for how many of these cards. So
Yeah,
that kind of
so
depends
it's-
on, and it's great. It's really
chill.
good.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is Target hour number 8.
Yeah.
Let's do number 7. Oh my gosh, Nick! I just want to keep talking about Bruno Catala and Vincent Dutrade.
Brew Trade?
Has
The
Brew
Brew
Trade done
Trade-
anything else?
It's probably so many games.
They have done a game called Raptor.
They have.
which is a 2-player, very asymmetric battle in the jungle game.
Yes.
That is awesome. So in this game, you are either playing as a group of scientists, or you're playing as a mother raptor and her 3 babies. And if you're the scientist, you want to capture 3 babies or put the mother raptor to sleep using tranquilizers.
Yep.
What do you want to do if you're the mother raptor?
You want to murder all the scientists.
Kill.
Or get your 3 babies to safety.
so that you can kill
And
easier.
essentially kill. It is, it's very fun.
Yeah, it's cool because it's
Stressful.
Just and it's ultimately this weird game of war. You're playing cards
Yeah.
out, and you kind of put them face down and you reveal at the same time. And there's cards labeled 1 through 9 with various powers on them. So whoever plays the higher numbered card is going to get like generic action points that the scientists and raptor each do different things. And if you play the lower card, you're going to get to do whatever power is printed on your card.
Yeah.
So it's very much about trying to guess what your opponent's going to do. If I think Nick's going to play a really high card, I don't necessarily want to play a super low card
Yeah.
because then he's going to get like 8 action points and just rip around the jungle and kill everybody.
Yeah.
But if I play a 7, think he's going to play an 8, and he plays a 2, that might mess me up as well. So you're trying to like really guess what the other you get in the head. So it's one of those that I want that in a 2-player game is I want it to be heads up feeling.
Yes.
And that game is very much like we are going to battle.
I will agree that I tend to like multiplayer solitaire games where everyone's kind of just doing their own thing. You're essentially just trying to outplay it. I don't mind interaction in games, but like I don't care if there is interaction in a game. In a 2-player game though,
There really
I
ought to be.
want at least some interaction. Yes, because it's like you're going head to head in some kind of you need some kind of competition in a head to head.
Yeah, it's just
Now granted, I don't know any 2-player games that are really like completely multiplayer solitaire. So it's like I think generally that happens, but that's the one time where I'm like, because I know people who are like, I don't like games without any interaction, and I'm like, I don't care personally. Like, I'm like, it doesn't matter to me at all. But in a 2-player, it does.
Yeah, 2-player, it's like if it is just truly multiplayer solitaire, why not make a game that's 2 to 4 players? Because it doesn't really matter how many players are in it. And a lot of games that are that way, I think, are 2 to 4 player games, or even 1 to 4. And it's like if you're making a 2-player game specifically, I hope you're doing that for a reason, which is also why I like 2-player games.
Yes.
Is that
They're
people are. You're limiting yourself in a way, so you have to get creative.
Yes.
Or at least you hope they do.
Or that it's just like okay, if you're doing this, you know that the 2-player that it's on purpose. That's the thing. It's like solo variants. It's like games that are only solo. You're kind of like, oh, this is probably gonna be pretty good because they went into it being like, no, we're only making a
is what
solo.
we're trying to
It's
create.
like that. It's like no, it's not. It's good at 2-player. It's like no, we made this only 2-player. You can't even do it anywhere else.
And something like Raptor does that really well, where they make it asymmetrical. You're either one side or the other, and you have your goals, and you're going to fight it out. And so it's very within its 2-playerness,
Off on a bit of a tangent on that, do you think, because it feels like this, in my opinion, this way, do you think that 2-player games, in your experience, have a higher rate of being good than other games?
I think so.
Because they're more deliberate?
They're more deliberate. They're more tactical. They usually are games where you are going to have more tactical decisions to make because it is just you versus one person. So definitely, I'm sure there are bad 2-player games out there.
Let us know in the comments below if you think that too, because I feel like of all the 2-player games I've played, I've at least liked almost all of them. At least been like, oh, that was good. Where that's not been the case for games. Now again, the ratio is skewed because there's so many more other games. Put in the comments below if you think that's also true, because it feels that way. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like there's a good shot. Again, I feel like you had to do some deeper thinking to do a 2-player.
Yeah, you had to like be like, okay, I'm doing this on purpose.
Yeah. Because it's probably easier.
No, you're off on a
to
tangent there. My
Yeah,
apologies.
anyway.
But I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
Raptor's great.
It's great. Very stressful. It's very stressful. Very fun. It's great. As everything Mike said, it's wonderful. It's great. It's hard not to get emotional during the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard not to get wrapped up in the theme
Oh,
of like that
man.
mother
When I'm the
raptor,
raptor
leave
and you're taking my
alone.
babies, I get legit pissed off.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It's sad.
Yeah.
So that's number 7 is Raptor. Let's get ahead and get into number 6.
Yeah. I almost said it again. Number 6 is another 2-player game.
It's crazy how many 2-player games
It's
are on
so
this list.
insane how many there are. Number 6 is Fox in the Forest. This is a little 2-player trick-taking game by Renegade Games that I have literally never won.
You haven't.
I have never won this game.
Yet.
I'm very bad at trick-taking games. Watch go in the top wherever corner.
Behind the card.
Our
Top
top
10
10 games we suck at with Matthew Jude because I suck at trick-taking games.
Trick-taking games makes an appearance.
And Fox in the Forest is kind of like worker placement games, in my opinion, where there's not very many. Fox in the Forest is only 2-player trick-taking game that I know of, at least, because trick-taking is one of those things I feel like it would be hard to do it 2-player only.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a general mechanic that's tough to do, and this is a 2-player trick-taking game that's really fun.
Yeah.
Really, really fun, and it's a trick-taking game that I tend to like trick-taking games where things are constantly changing. It's not like Hearts where it's always the same. You're just always
Hearts
not
and
wanting
spades.
Hearts unless you're shooting the mood or something like that. You know, it's like I like trick-taking games like Fox in the Forest or Indulgence where the trump card is always changing. You can manipulate halfway through the
might be
round.
new rules.
I can change the trump card, you know, and it's like I like that because to me it makes it more interesting than just a straight up trick taking game, which I will say are not my favorite types of games.
Yeah.
But I like trick taking games that have more going on.
Yeah, and the Fox in the Forest does a good job because they pare down how many cards you have. There's only 3 suits and stuff,
Yeah.
so it limits the amount of cards.
It's a
which
very
makes it
small
easier
game,
for
I mean,
2 players. And then every odd-numbered card has a power attached to it, so that there are things that allow you to draw cards, ditch cards, switch whatever that trump suit is mid-round on top of the trick-taking. And then the best thing for me is that in games, sometimes you want to try to get no hands, you want to try to get all the hands, and in Fox in the Forest, the thing that makes it tactical is if you get like 6 of the tricks won, you get 6 points.
Yeah.
But if you take 7 or whatever, 8, whatever it is, once you hit a certain threshold, you get no points because you've been too indulgent.
You were greedy.
You're greedy.
Yeah.
And so now it feels more tactical because if I don't have the best hands, I have all the more incentive to try to play off and mess with my opponent and make them take the tricks and stuff. So it feels really tactical, even though it's only 2 players.
And that's one thing in this game that I'm bad at. I'll get close, I'll get like 5, and I'm like, oh, cool, I can get to like 6. And then Michael just forced me to take, and I'm like, great, I'm just greedy now.
He's fallen into the web.
Really fun, yeah, because you don't want to take too many tricks, but you want to take a lot.
You want to get right into that line.
And it's a very fun, very good little bounce, tiny little game. I mean, it's a very small Renegade Games.
Beautiful.
It's just a beautiful art too. And now there's like a co-op one that we just heard about. It's like a Fox Force duet. I don't know what that means. I'm very excited though.
How does I'm so curious to like what? How does that work? But Fox in the Forest super works, so I have every reason to believe that the Fox in the Forest duet will work as well. Anyway,
so Fox Force number 6, really great. Like trick taking games, like 2-player games. Give it a shot. Small game, cheap. Love it, love it, love it. It's number 6. Let's get number 5.
Rip. Number 5 is a game called Pagoda, where you are building pagodas.
Not bridges.
Didn't expect that. In this game, you are building pagodas. You are putting out like little column pieces and then floors.
It's a very cool 3D game.
Yeah, it's very, you build up like literally, I think there's 5 or something. You're building up these pagodas and stuff, and we're all like, I don't have my own and you have yours.
Yes, it's a communal board,
Yeah, so you're trying to like, basically for every level you build, if you put a column down on the ground, you get a point for every column you put. If you put a column down on the 2nd floor, you get 2 points. If it's on the 3rd floor, you get 3. So it becomes more valuable. So I want to set myself up well, but not so that Nick on his turn, I basically built up a whole other floor and he's just like column.
Yeah, the worst thing you could do is like on your last thing, build a floor. Because then I'm like, cool, thanks, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And now you have to follow colors, so if I don't have the cards, but it's like...
You gotta have the right cards. You're playing out cards to allow yourself to, if I want to put a purple column, I gotta put a purple card. But there's that fear that like I did all this hard work and you just got to walk in and do the same thing, but for more points.
Yeah, it's like this constant dance of like trying to get points, but not trying to set up the other person.
Too many points.
So there's so many times you're like doing something that's like not nearly as good for you, but if you did that thing that's really good for you, you're also gonna make it good for the other person. So I'm like, I'm gonna go work on this pagoda that's like still on the ground, rather than do this one because I don't have the cards that I need to really do this one to make it worth it. And so this is constant dance. And then whenever you build a floor, so everything's done in colors. So the purple columns, and on top of the purple columns has to go purple floor, and then depending after that it might be a blue floor, and and each time you build a floor of a certain color, you get a power, and the powers are very simple, very easy, but it might allow you to like you can turn in 2 cards of the same color, and that makes it a wild, and so you can then do this other stuff. And it's so fun. It's so underrated. It's a great game. The one thing I will say, it's not colorblind friendly. Because I tried playing this with Tall David one time, and Tall David is very, very, very colorblind. And it was not that fun because the cards all have symbols on them, but the columns don't.
Right, they're just wooden.
And the purple and the blue, if you're colorblind, are basically identical. Yeah. And it was very, very difficult for him to tell the difference. So that's the only knock. But other than that, it was on my top 10 underrated games. I think it's an incredibly underrated game.
It is.
And it's so good.
It feels satisfying because you're scoring throughout the game.
Yes.
Anytime you put a column down, you score. So you're always doing stuff.
Just moving.
Like,
turns are quick. The powers are nice and easy. It's an outstanding 2-player game.
Yeah, it really is. Go check out Pagoda if you haven't. I feel like not many people talk about it, but it is a really solid 2-player game. Very much about trying to like hold back and let other people do work for you so that you get to reap the benefits.
Yeah, it's really great.
Very tactical.
Good stuff.
And good enough for our number 5. That is Pagoda.
All right, let's get to number 4. Alrighty, our number 4 is Patchwork, going right into it. This game just like took the world by storm, I feel like.
It really hit, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It hit hard, man. It hit hard. Did, this game about quilting. This is a game, and this kind of, I feel like, really revolutionized polyomino tile games.
Oh, yeah.
There are polyomino tile games like Tetris, kind of weird shaped tiles.
It's always
Those
been
kinds
around.
of games existed for sure, but like this, I feel like put that on the map to this point where there are so many polyomino tile games, which is fine because I love that mechanic. Yeah. I love the Tetris kind of mechanic. It's really great.
I played Ohio the other day, and I'm like, I love just making.
It's satisfying.
Yeah.
You know, so Patchwork is a game that actually came out of Feast for Odin. Uwe Rosenberg made this and decided to just make tons more money.
Probably
and so,
more than from Feast for Odin.
Probably more than from, almost
something.
guaranteeing more than from Feast for Odin. So basically how it is, each person has a little quilt, a little blank quilt, and there is a big circle, this game's kind of a table hog, honestly, of different patchwork quilts. Just little pieces, little flower ones.
Like you normally do with
just
the quilt.
Little scraps, exactly. And essentially, there's a little pawn that's going to go around the round with the quilt pieces, and you can essentially choose the 3 that are in front of this pawn, and they will cost a certain amount of buttons. Buttons is the currency in this game. It's very cute.
Very charming.
So basically, you pay buttons, boom, and then you put it somewhere in your quilt, and that's what. And then that wherever one you chose, the pawn moves to that one, and then Mike would then get to choose from those 3, and you just keep going around and around and around until what is the game end of this?
You run out of time. So there's 2 forms
that's right.
of currency.
Yes.
There is, and that's the best part about the game.
Yes, I agree.
Is that different tiles cost buttons, which is money. If you don't have the money, you can't
buy the button.
But the other thing it costs time. So you have around in the center, you have a board, and you're moving a pawn further and further closer to the center. Yep. And once you get to the end to the center, you're done. Right. And so certain things might cost very few buttons, but you have to move your thing forward 5 spaces. Yeah. You never go backward.
No.
So there is this great balance of time versus money.
Yeah.
And especially the extra fun part is like if you were like 6 spaces ahead and I buy something that only moves me forward 1, 2, 3 spaces, I'm still behind you. So it's still my turn until I pass you.
Yes.
So there is the opportunity to go twice or even once in a while 3 times in a row before you go. Or if you were to go way ahead and I was behind, I didn't have any money, you can pass. Yeah. And you move forward 1, 2, 3, 4, however many spaces until you pass them. You get a button per space.
Yes.
You went. Now you went all that time forward
with no
and didn't
piece.
get anything to fill in your spot.
And it's cool because the pieces, you would think, oh, the bigger the piece, the more time and money it costs, but not necessarily because like sometimes the piece will be just like a little L, but that little L is useful because there's going to be a spot sometimes where you have that spot. And sometimes really big pieces won't cost you many buttons or any time, but they're really weird shaped. Yeah. So it's going to be harder to fit those in, especially if you're like mid to late game. And it's a really fun, it's really cutthroat. So I will say, because you can spite draft the heck out of this game. But it's really, really fun game. It's huge for a reason. I fully support the success of it. And now there's like Patchwork Express, which I don't understand.
Patchwork Doodle.
Patchwork Doodle. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of them now, but Patchwork, just base Patchwork, is great. It also spawned like Cottage Garden and Indian Summer and all those. All those came out of Patchwork, and Patchwork's great. So give it a shot if you haven't been living under a quilt. What? Buy it, play it.
Get it now.
That's our number 4 Patchwork.
Number 3 is Surprise, a 2-player game with cards in it, as many of them do. And this is an incredibly tactical game. Does so much with so very little
micro game.
It is Hanamakoji.
Oh, it's so good.
Hanamakoji is a game where you are trying to attract geisha to basically your restaurant.
Yep.
You're running a business on Hanamakoji Street, and you're trying to get the most famous geisha to come to your restaurant to perform. And you are doing this by playing kind of hopefully a couple rounds where you have 4 actions. And you are either saving a card, burning some cards, doing an eye split, you choose, or offering 3, you take 1, I get the 2 that you don't pick. And what you're trying to do is these cards will have the different types of geisha. There's 7. And whatever you get to put down in front of them is basically your influence over that geisha. So at the end of the round, for the geisha that have, 2, if I have a card in front of them, Nick has none, I have more influence, they come to my restaurant. Nick has the 4, and things like that. So there's just all these brutal decisions because you're just trying to put down the cards you want, but anytime I'm taking an action where I'm presenting cards to put down, you have the first shot at those cards.
Yeah.
And so I have to try to create a scenario where you're not interested in the things I'm interested in.
Yes.
Try to make you think about this thing over here, or maybe sacrifice something so that I can get something.
Yes.
It is incredibly brutal.
And it's tough because there's 7 geishas, Mike said, and they have different ranks. There are 3 2 geishas, 2 3s, 1 4, and 1 5. So the 5 is worth the most points. But each geisha, whatever their point value is, that's how many cards there are of that geisha.
So it's harder to get that majority.
So the 3 2 geisha, there's only 2 of those cards in there. So if you get 2 of those, I'm guaranteed a majority in that. And so it's like this constant. And what's so tough is you don't know what people have in their hands. You don't know that card that they saved. So I might be offering 2 cards to Mike, and I might be giving him exactly what he needs. Because like if I offer him one of the red 2s and he had already burned 2 cards and one of those cards he burned was a red 2, he takes that red 2, there's no way I can even tie the majority from him.
That's what's so agonizing.
So there's so often you're giving your opponent exactly what they need and you have no idea, but they're also doing that to you.
Yeah.
And the game will end once everyone's done those 4 actions, and then basically if you influence 4 geisha, you win the game. Or if you influence 11 points of geisha, so if you influence like a 2, a 4, and a 5, that's 11 points. Now it can happen where you influence 4, I influence 11 points, and then the person who won 11 points wins. But what happens, I would say at least half the time, if not more, nobody wins.
Yes.
Like Mike didn't influence 4, neither did I, and neither of us got to 11 points. So then all the influence markers stay where they are. We shuffle up the cards and we go again.
Yeah, so round 2 becomes
and it just gets
so
much more stressful. Like
because the ones that are in front of me stay in front of me. And so if I can simply manage to maintain the status quo, they won't go away.
Yeah.
So is Nick in the second round going to try to steal the geisha I have? Do I try to maintain and take one of his, or there's this one that didn't go to anyone, and now are we fighting over this one?
Yeah.
It's like if you ever get to the second round, all of a sudden you're like, whole new ball game.
Everyone,
Slow
I've had to
down.
go like 4 or 5 rounds, and it's just every single time
so
gets
stressful.
Because you're like, I lost the 4, but I got the 3, and we're still no one's won yet. So you go, and it's just like,
it's
so stressful. But it is for such a small game. It
packs such a punch.
Incredible.
I don't know of a game that's packed more punch with less stuff.
Yeah.
Like it might be the best like micro game around.
For me personally, it probably is. Yeah.
Deep, tactical, gut-wrenching decisions.
So much
stuff.
strategy.
There's a lot of small
many
games
hard
that are very
decisions.
kind of nice and light and beautiful, and I love that. And this one, I'm just like, this is a battle right now.
Yeah. We're about to fight. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so good. You've got to try Hanamakoji by Emperor S4.
So good.
And Deepwater over here.
Bring it over. Yeah.
Hanamakoji. So check out our number 3. We got a couple more, so let's get into number 2.
All right, number 2 is Seven Wonders Duel.
Ooh.
It's a good one. That's our third Bruna
It's
Catala
not
game.
necessarily my favorite, but I have to think that it's the best one that's been made. I have to think.
I
don't know.
I mean, you can make that
I
argument.
don't know.
That's subjective. You can make that argument for anything.
Bruno Catala.
Bruna Catala, it's
Hat trick of Bruno's on this one.
yeah. Pew. It's Seven Wonders Duel is the 2-player version of Seven Wonders. In my opinion, like, is a way better game than Seven Wonders. I love Seven Wonders. It's
So much
fine, but
better.
like, it's just so incredible.
This one's, yeah.
So it's very Seven Wonders-y, where you're getting different resources. It's an engine builder. You're using those resources, you're getting bricks, stone, glass, parchment, whatever. And you're using those to put different buildings in play, which can give you even more resources, can give you scoring, can get some science
military
going.
culture.
But then on top of that, you can put, for each person drafts 4 wonders, and 7 of them can be put in the game. And so one person will not be able to put one of theirs in the game.
Seven Wonders, not 8.
Exactly. And so those will require like 2 glass, 3 wood, a parchment, and whatever. And then once you have that, you sacrifice a card, and then you can put that wonder into play. It'll usually give you some more resources, give you points.
Might get to go again. You get a bonus
Exactly.
turn.
And this game is all built on top of like a pyramid. And it's kind of like Pyramid Solitaire, where it's like you only have 2 options at the very bottom, these 2 cards. We take this, and then all of a sudden, boom, some cards get uncovered.
Yeah.
So some cards, what's going to be there, some cards you don't, because some are face down. And so the game is this tactical game of trying to force your opponent to take stuff and basically force them to open up
Uncover
stuff
the
for
things you
you.
want, yeah.
Exactly. And it's so hard.
That was a moment when I realized, like, oh, I see what the game's about. It's about building up that engine, but it's really about manipulating your opponent into uncovering those stuff. The control over the cards can be incredibly tactical. And if you can avoid uncovering cards for your opponent, especially if those are the ones that are face down, you don't know what's under, they might be the perfect thing for you. And you're like, I just gave that away.
Yeah.
Ooh,
it's
so
tough.
good.
Yeah, you're like, oh, man. Yeah, and because I love that. I always liked Pyramid Solitaire. I used to play it like on Windows 95 and stuff, back in the day. I love that. I love that thing. And another 2-player game, taking a quick tangent, that just missed our list, but is a great, really light 2-player game, is Fluttering Souls by our friend Joel. And it's essentially about set collection with like really pretty art and butterflies,
small and light,
but it's based off of that kind of concept where it's like
with all sorts of different shapes.
With
and stuff,
all
but
sorts of different shapes.
You have to uncover
But-
cards to get access to more.
yeah, and I love that. And that's just something that is not used in games at all. Sierra West is a new game that uses a kind of thing, but like that is a super underutilized way of like making cards available in a game.
I agree. I think it's a
and
really
this is
fun
one
way to
that
do it.
like just knocks it out of the park. Seven Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
It's so good, and there's so much strategy. It's so good. It's a way deeper game than Seven Wonders.
Yes,
and
it
way
is.
heavier. And
Because
usually
it's
that's
so much
not
more
the case.
tactical with getting those cards. There's a lot of overlap in Seven Wonders. You're putting things down to get like
Yeah,
wood
yeah.
and stuff to build more cards, because cards all have costs. Sometimes it's resources, sometimes it's money. Sometimes you can pay money if you don't have the resources and stuff like that. But this one with that card pyramid, and the shape changes each round, becomes incredibly tactical.
And this is, like I said, one of the situations where the 2-player version of a game is actually heavier and longer
And better.
than the main one. Usually it's like, oh, the 2-player version is shorter and quicker and usually lighter. This one, it's like, no, it's way heavier. But Seven Wonders Duel, we'll stop gushing, is so good. Thanks, Brew Katooks. You're just the best. You're the best of us. Brugels and Katookles is the best.
It's designed by someone else as well who designed Seven Wonders, but I can't remember the name right now.
Antoine Boza, I believe.
It was, yeah, right?
I believe, right?
Nailed it!
Double check real quick.
Oh, God, it's on the
Double
shelf,
check
right?
for me. It's not on the thing. Check. Oh, Micah, check. I think so.
Ooh.
It'd be cool if I was right. Mikey, anytime. This dead space. Antoine Boza? Oh, yeah. Antoine Boza. I was right. Yeah.
We knew it. We knew it the whole time.
So that's our number 2, Seven Wonders Duel. What could be number 1?
I don't know.
It's this game. But
You heard Nick right. Ba is number 1. Baseball Highlights 2045. Now this comes with an asterisk because technically you can play more than 2 players, but if you were doing a 4-player game, you would just play 2. You would just do a tournament.
you play 2 2-player games.
You do 2 2-player games. And you play. It's literally just a tournament.
It's
Like,
a
that
4-player
ain't a 4-player game. It's a 2-player game. Nick's not playing left field while I'm pitching.
Although I'd be down for a game like that.
That'd be awesome. But so it's a 2-player game that simulates baseball, kind of in a war, attack, react card way.
Kind of, yeah.
And then it mixes in cyborgs and robots.
It does.
Because thematically within the game, we love this game. People have heard us talk about it
This
a lot.
might be one of my favorite universes in a game
It's so cool.
ever.
So in the universe, really quickly, basically baseball has fallen out of favor because people think it's boring. Very relatable. That's how people feel in real life.
We don't, but
So
I
like,
love it,
well,
yeah.
of course, it's the best sport. It's the only sport of all time. And so people say, well, maybe if we just put robots in that can like throw 120 miles an hour, maybe that'll be cool.
Yeah.
And like make the game shorter.
People are like, that is cool.
Yeah, people are like, well, I'm gonna get a cyborg because I can't keep up with the pitcher, so I'm gonna get like robotic legs so I can like turn on the ball and stuff like that. So that's like you have these weird mixes of like robots and naturals who just do it by being a human still,
And they're like huge crowd favorites and stuff. Yeah.
So there's all these things. So usually they give you a lot of income and things like that. So the game is all about trying to threaten offense. You play 6 cards in a game, which basically represents an inning of work.
Yeah, it's
and
like little mini games, yeah.
Yeah, and so if I play a game, if I play a card, I'm going to threaten like a double and a single. And Nick can play a card to maybe cancel some of those. He's like, I'm going to catch one of those other things. I'll let you have your single. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to hit a home run.
Yeah.
So now I have to react to the home run, or do I let him score the home run so I can play this card, which doesn't have any defense on it, but has a lot of offense? I'm like, I'll give up a run knowing I'm going to hit 3 triples, and they're with fast runners.
Because most of the cards, not every single one, like Mikey said, will have offense and defense. So when you play a card, the first thing you're doing is reacting to what Mike did,
Yes.
and then threatening your own. So it's that back and forth, back and forth. You're only playing 6 cards. Each card is like an inning, and it's like, it's just. It works. It's weird. It's a super
nice.
weird game, but it works so well. And there's a constant like trying to get in each other's heads, trying to predict what Mike's going to play next.
Trying to
like
play things that make him burn all of his defensive cards,
Yes.
so then I can then play the real card
like
I've been wanting
Mike
to play.
spams triples. So I'm like, oh, I got to get rid of him. And then
can't let it
boom, he
happen.
drops a 2-run homer on me, and I'm like, I'm out of defensive cards. And it's so much fun. And then after each, essentially how we always play it is we play a 5-game series because each little 6-card mini game, that's technically one game of baseball. And we play a 5-game series, and so it's best of 5. And then after that, we play at the World Series. And we basically, how the best of 5 does is it determines home field advantage for the World Series.
Which is awesome.
And then in between each game, there is income on each of your players, and you use that income to draft free agents. And there's a free agent deck, and there's actually way better versions than your kind of
You kind of
normal
got
cards.
like your AAA players to start.
And then they're
rookies.
bangarang. And then the cool thing is, though, is they go on top of your deck. So if I see Mike gets this crazy defensive person who also is bombing a home run, I know he's
coming up.
going to have that card. So then it's
when-
constant. It's like, when is he going to play it? When is he going to play it? When is he going to play it? You know, and you're just, it's so much fun.
Absolutely works. Like you said, just the way they do it, the whole like reacting while acting at the same time is incredibly interesting.
Yes.
The amount of cards you can get and draft, and not to mention every time you get a card, you get rid of a card. So
Yes.
your deck never bloats. It
You always have
is
15 cards. That's it.
And like you play these series, and it really does feel like a sport.
Yes.
And like kind of like baseball, where it is sort of like methodical and stuff a little bit. It's just.
And I think this is a
incredible
game
thing.
where if you like baseball, you will enjoy this game a lot more. But I don't think you need to like baseball to enjoy it. Because ultimately, it's very thematic. Like, I'm defending against you, which is when I'm on defense on the field. And then I'm threatening a hit, which is when I'm at the bat. So it's like, it's all thematic. And there's a lot of weirdly thematic baseball things where like, if someone's on second base and someone hits a single, they score, which is a baseball thing.
It's like that is likely to happen.
So there's a lot of that, but you could just get into mechanics because mechanics is just a really tactical, super fun, very tight back and forth. And that's it.
And there's really fun stuff with the names of the.
It's super
they're
deep.
All, they're
It's
all
meta
like
as hell.
Mixes of real life baseball players. So the first name of one, the last name of another. The whole like. Robots are they have a weakness to cyborgs, and cyborgs have a weakness to humans, or something like that. There's like each of them has like, oh, you can do this if you're facing off against a natural. So it adds like another level of like, is he going to play a natural? He's been drafting a lot. I'm going to get this card that's going to like negate his thing just because he's a natural and I'm a robot or whatever. So it adds these interesting things, and the art's really cool and stuff. And the world you're set in, I'm glad they made it into kind of a robotic, near future world because I think if it was just straight baseball like MLB or something, I think people would be like, no,
It'd probably
pass.
be boring, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like that just adds enough that you get really interested into like, oh, this is kind of a fun world we're playing in,
Yeah.
and then it allows like those mechanics just to blossom, and then you're already playing the game, and then you get the real deliciousness.
Oh yeah.
the treats.
Oh yeah, the deliciousness.
Oh my gosh, Baseball Highlights 2045 is our number one easily.
So good.
Because it's probably my number 2 overall. Like Seven Wonders Duel is right up there. But then every time I play Baseball Highlights, I remember just how much I love
Yeah.
it. And it's your number 1 clearly, so we're like, it has to be our number 1.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It's so good.
But anyway, that's just 2 dudes' opinions. I know that there's games on there, like you said. There's no Twilight Struggle because barf. There's no War of the Ring. There's no Star Wars Rebellion. There are many more 2-player games, I'm sure.
I mean, our list was over 20 games that we had to whittle down to 10. It's a
I want to have Duelosaur Island on there.
Yeah,
Emotep the Duel, better than Emotep. Boom. There's
Yeah.
3 different things.
There's a lot of good 2-player games because a lot of people play 2-player. It's just the reality. And so, what are some of your favorite 2-player games? Put them down in the comments. Something we missed, some things you agree with, disagree with. Put it down in the comments below. There are a lot more 2-player games than this. Maybe
There's probably
someday we'll
something we've
do.
never heard of.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so it's such a great topic though because so many people are like us where they mostly play with like one person, and it's like
Just to swing back around, I love when designers give themselves the extra challenge of wanting to create something that is specific.
Yes.
I'm going to make this, I'm cater it to this audience. It's 2 players only. I'm going to put these limitations and force myself to become more clever.
Yeah.
I have to think harder
Yeah.
now. And I think that a lot of times it yields some pretty good results doing that.
oh yeah.
And there's a few of games that we've named and versions of ones that are out there that I prefer to the bigger counterparts.
Oh, 100%.
Again, Seven Wonders Duel is more tactical.
Yeah.
And that's not anything against Seven Wonders. It's just a deeper experience.
Yeah.
For our
It's
money.
it's just great. It's great. So put down in the comments below what you think about our list, what things we missed, what didn't we miss, all that kind of stuff.
Give this video a thumbs up.
Give it a
if you
thumbs
like
up.
It.
Hit that subscribe button.
Okay.
Give it a share if you don't mind. And down in the
Please.
comments also, let us know what top 10s you would like to see us do next. We always try and choose ones that people have asked for. People, since we did our last 2-player game, have been asking for this one, so that's why we're doing it. And just be awesome to each other and yourself.
Be excellent with each other as always. And until next time, I'm Mike Murphy.
I'm Nick Murphy.
We're the Brothers Murph, and we're out of here.
Peace. And I can do this now because it's 2
Have
players.
a great. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do these. Throw them up.
Hello. I want to let you know that we have a Patreon and that you should check it out. There will be a button somewhere around here probably that you can click to help out the Brothers Murph. Click the Patreon. Do it.
I also got to let you know that we're sponsored by Restoration Games and by Game Toppers. Go to GameToppersLLC.com to upgrade your gaming experience. Look at that label. It's beautiful. Do it. Do it right now. I hate you. I'm sorry. I love you. Bye.